Thank you. I'll open the meeting at 6 p.m. Welcome to this scheduled council meeting of the 22nd of July 2025, which is being held in person in the council chamber at Civic Centre, 25 Ferris Boulevard, South Morang. The meeting is also being live streamed. I am Councillor Martin Taylor, the Mayor of the City of Whittlesea, and I would like to introduce our councillors in attendance tonight. Firstly, Deputy Mayor Councillor Daniela Zini, Councillor Deb Gunn, Councillor Blair Caldwell, Councillor David Lindberg, Councillor Laurie Cox, Councillor Jared Lappin, Councillor Christine Stowe, and virtually we have Councillor Nick Brooks. I would also like to introduce our Chief Executive Officer, Mr Craig Lloyd, and ask Craig to introduce the members of the Executive Leadership Team.
Thanks, Chair. Good evening, everyone. We have our Director of Planning and Development, Emma Appleton, our Director of Community Wellbeing, Agata Himalevsky, the Director of Corporate and Customer Services, Sarah Renner, Director of Infrastructure and Environment, Debbie Wood, Executive Manager of Public Affairs, Janine Morgan, and at the table here, the Executive Manager of Office of Council and CEO, Jacinta Stevens. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Craig. On behalf of Council, I recognise the rich Aboriginal heritage of this country and acknowledge the Wurundjeri Willem clan and the Taungurung people as the traditional owners of the lands within the City of Whittlesea. I would also like to personally acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. I now move on and read out our diversity and good governance statement. At the City of Whittlesea, we are proud of our diversity and the many cultures, faiths and beliefs that make up our community. We strive to be an inclusive, welcoming city that fosters active participation, well-being and connection to each other and this land. We commit as Council to making informed decisions to benefit the people of the City of Whittlesea now and into the future, to support our community's vision of a place for all. Apologies. I note that there are no apologies this evening. Acknowledgements. There are 3 acknowledgements this evening. The first one is the National Tree Day. On Sunday the 27th of July, Council will celebrate National Tree Day with a free, fun tree planting day at the Burton Park Conservation Area in Mernda. Increasing the number of trees and green cover across our municipality is a key goal for Council. And we are pleased to support events that help our community get involved in planting and understanding the important role trees play in our everyday lives. I encourage our community to come down to this event and help us plant a range of native trees and wildflowers to help our local environment and animals to thrive. Councillor Zini.
Thank you, Chair. Another acknowledgement we have is the Victorian NAIDOC Awards for 2025. On behalf of Council, I'd like to extend our congratulations to Layla resident Auntie Eva Jo Edwards on being named an Elder of NAIDOC by the Victorian NAIDOC Committee. The Victorian NAIDOC Awards are presented each year during NAIDOC Week to recognise achievements in art, culture, education, sport, environment and leadership. A proud Burong, Burranong, Mati Mati and Yotta Yotta woman, Auntie Eva Jo is a respected cultural leader, artist and knowledge keeper. Her lifelong work has preserved stories, language and traditional practice, generously guiding younger generations. Congratulations to Auntie Jo, Eva Jo, on this well-deserved recognition. Also, another acknowledgement is the Victorian Police Chief Commissioner's NAIDOC Awards for 2025. We also wish to congratulate Epping resident Joanne Proctor on receiving the Community Member Awards in the Victorian Police Chief Commissioner's NAIDOC Awards for 2025. Joanne is a manager of the Women's Healing Journey program at Specialist Aboriginal Family Violence Service, Dadi Manawara. Through this role, she has built strong relationships with local police and is focused on achieving the best possible outcomes for First Peoples. Congratulations to Joanne for earning this wonderful award.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Declaration. councillors present this evening have any conflicts of interest in any items on tonight's agenda that you wish to declare?
No, Chair.
That council confirm the minutes of the scheduled council meeting held on the 17th of June as circulated. Do I have a mover? Councillor Cox. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gunn. I now put it to the vote. All in favour of confirming the minutes, please raise your hand. Motion carried unanimously. Item 4, public question time. Due to the Laylaw Ward by-election and in accordance with our governance rules, there will be no public question time as council is in its election period caretaker mode until the 2nd of August 2025. We now move to considerations of reports. Items 5.1, Draft Community Plan 2025 to 2029 and the Community Action Plan 2025-2026. In accordance with our governance rules, I will be using my discretion to extend the officer speaking time from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and I now introduce Ms Sarah Renner, Director, Customer and Corporate Services.
Thank you, Chair. I'd also like to introduce Adrian, our Manager, EPMO and Change, and Alessandra, our Unit Manager, Corporate Planning. Prior to handing over to Adrian to introduce the paper, I would also like to acknowledge Agata, our Director of Community Wellbeing, who effectively structured the document to be really community-facing, and also Janine, our Executive Manager, Public Affairs, and her team for the design and the community consultation to date. Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Sarah. Evening, Mayor and Councillors. I'm extremely delighted to present to this Council the Draft Community Plan 2025-29, incorporating the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan, Disability Action Plan, and the Draft Community Action Plan for 25-26. The preparation of a council plan following the election of councillors is a requirement under Section 90 of the Local Government Act, and for the City of Whittlesea, our council plan will be called a community plan and will drive the aspirations and priorities over the next 4 years as we continue to deliver on the community vision, Whittlesea 2040, a place for all. While the community vision looks at where we want to head towards 2040, the draft community plan outlines what strategic priorities we will focus on over the next 4 years. And as supplement to the draft community plan, we will also have the draft community action plan 25-26, which outlines the key actions we will deliver in the first year against our draft community plan. At the heart of the draft community plan are 12 key themes, each asking a simple question and reflecting a different aspect of community life that embody the hopes, priorities and aspirations of people who call the City of Whittlesea home, such as, how will you help me stay active? How will you support my child to thrive? These questions have guided how we've shaped the community plan's 55 strategic priorities, so the actions we take speak directly to the everyday experiences of the people who live, work, study and visit here at the City of Whittlesea. The draft community plan has been shaped with the voices of our community, and we have heard more than 4,000 community comments via several in-person, online and targeted focus group sessions, and are pleased to say this is fantastic, and we've heard from a representative sample of our community. In addition, we have led 15 workshops with community health providers, representing a total of 11 organisations to help inform the Municipal Public Health and Wellbeing Plan and Disability Action Plan priorities, which include education opportunities, awareness campaigns, social connection initiatives, housing options, addressing financial barriers, and of course, safety in our community. We're excited to enter the next phase of consultation, where we'll be showcasing how community feedback has been translated into the draft community plan and the draft community action plan, and asking community for further input and feedback. This phase will be carried out between 24th of July and the 31st of August via a number of consultation methods, including focus group sessions, 15 pop-up sessions across all 11 wards across the municipality, direct community group discussions and online engagement. The draft community plan outlines our vision, our goals, our initiatives for the next 4 years. It guides our priorities and actions in alignment with the needs of the community and sets the direction for Council's work and its many partnerships. I encourage all residents to have a read and provide their feedback and comments during this consultation period. Thank you.
Councillors, do you have any questions in relation to this item? Do I have a motion for item 5.1? A mover of the motion? Councillor Zini? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Zini, I'm just confirming that the motion as presented before you is the motion which you are presenting, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Gunn? Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Caldwell? Okay. Councillor Zini, as the mover, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please. Thank you, Chair. The community plan is an easy read document which will tell you everything that council is doing to support you, whether you're a parent or a business owner, any age and any background. There are there's 55 strategic priorities with listed actions. Getting out to the pop-ups that council will hold, as Adrian said, and have your say, ask those questions and understand just how much work goes into these plans. I want to commend the team behind the community plan, and I cannot wait to see the implementation of the exceptional work. Some highlights I love the redevelopment of Peter Hopper Lake in Mill Park, and that council will increase advocacy for more improved access to mental health programs. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Gunn, as the seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, just very quickly to say it is a great plan, and I fully encourage the community to get behind it and involved and put their stamp of what they want in there as well and have their feedback heard. So thank you.
I now ask any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion and invite Councillor Caldwell.
Thank you, Chair. The Community Plan and Associated Action Plan sets out the aspirational necessities of a growing, vibrant, diverse and thriving community. These are not simply words on paper, a document revisited once every 4 years, for it is the inevitable renewal. Rather, it's a roadmap for the next 4 years. It is deliberately titled the Community Plan rather than Council Plan, which is often the case in other municipalities. This is because the Community Plan is a commitment of partnership with our community, representing our interests, wishes and ambitions. In acknowledging this, I support endorsing the Community Plan and Associated Action Plan for a community consultation and encourage those who share our vision for a connected, thriving community to all fully participate in that consultation process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Cox?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to begin by congratulating the staff in terms of the officers that have been involved in the process. This has been a long process, particularly for the newer councillors around the table, but even for the old ones like me, a drawn-out process, but it was a factually based process, and it was an input from each councillor, including the 2 vacancies that we have in the council at the moment, were also involved in the process. So the process goes through the aspirations of what we see as councillors for the next 4 years, which will take us over the next election period into that first year. It is important that we, as councillors, provide that representational information, but as has been already commented, this is a community plan and it's a community action plan. It is not just the councillors, it's not just the officers. This is something that the community needs to be active in and involved in at all stages. So for all those keyboard warriors that sit out there and attack the council and say that you don't know what you're talking about, you're not representative, here's your opportunity. Get off your backsides, get away from your computer screens, attend the pop-ups, attend the hearings, give us an actual opinion that might be relevant. Don't give us rubbish on social media. give us the information. We might not agree with your view, but as councillors, we will take it on board. And that's what this process is about, and I fully support the recommendation, but this will come back to council in a more formal manner in October. But this is your opportunity. Don't sit outside and criticise us.
Thank you, Councillor Cox. Are any other councillor like to speak to the motion? I do. As a councillor deeply committed to making our municipality safer and more connected, and more inclusive for everyone who calls the City of Whittlesea home, the Draft Community Plan 2025-2029, together with the Community Action Plan 2025-2026, sets out a bold and thoughtful vision for the years ahead. It's not just another document, it's a real commitment to the community of our great City of Whittlesea. It was built upon from more than 1,300 community members, and it reflects what our residents have told us that they value: safety, wellbeing, belonging and opportunity. The plan covers 12 important themes to touch on almost every part of the daily lives of our municipality, such as transport, infrastructure, access to services, parks, housing and the environment. But what I'm especially proud of tonight is the plan's strong focus on community safety, violence and violence prevention. We now know that real crime prevention starts with an understanding where harm begins. It starts in our homes, our schools, and sometimes in the silence where people are struggling behind closed doors. This plan makes it clear that we will not look away, that we will commit us to early intervention, to work closely with families, young people and those at risk, and supporting programs to help prevent violence before it starts. This includes the support of mental health, trauma recovery, prevention, family violence and helping people feel safe in their neighbourhoods, and ensuring our community facilities are welcoming, inclusive and accessible to everybody. I want to highlight this plan is not a quick fix, but it's a long-term, community-driven, making sure we build a city where people not only live but thrive. I take this time to extension pursuant to Rule 35.5 to extend this for another minute. Can't do that? Okay. I'm proud to endorse the officer's recommendations as presented. The Community Action Plan as it reflects a council that listens, a council that acts, a council that generally believes in building a City of Whittlesea where everyone belongs and everyone feels safe and everyone has the chance to succeed. I strongly recommend and commend those people involved in the development of this Community Action Plan and Community Plan. Thank you. Now move to put a motion to the vote. All those in favour, sorry, we need a first proposer, don't we? No. All those in favour, please raise your hands. This motion has been carried unanimously. I now move to item 5.2, 2021-89 Property Maintenance Contract Variation, and I introduce Agata Himalevsky, the Director of Community Wellbeing.
Thank you, Chair. This report this evening seeks of Council's approval to extend a contract for the provision of property maintenance services, which effectively is used by Council for two funded programs to support residents to live at home independently. The first one being our Commonwealth Home Support Program and the other program being the Home and Community Care Program for younger people. And I'd like to introduce Lisa, who is our Manager of Ageing Well, to speak to the report.
Thanks, Agata. As Agata mentioned, so this report is associated with funding that we get from both the Commonwealth and the state to provide property maintenance services to older people and people who are vulnerable in the community. To access these services, people need to have an assessment through either My Aged Care for older people or via the state and through the HACPY PYP program, which is the HACK program for younger people, and they have a separate assessment program. The services include things like lawn mowing, replacing light globes, home modifications, putting in handheld showers and other modifications to, again, as Agardo mentioned, to help people live safely and independently at home. In 2002, Council set up contracting arrangements to enable the provision of these services. The contract commenced in September 22 for a 2-year period and allowed for 2 one-year extensions. This report seeks Council's approval for the final 1-year extension to the contract to continue to provide the property maintenance services to provide to the people in this municipality. We currently have 2 providers who are working under this contractor, and feedback and reviews of their work have been favourable. So the recommendations of this report are that Council endorse the extension of the contracts with Borges Trust and Auxiliary Services Group for an additional and final year on the 30th, ending on the 30th of September 2026 at a total cost of $450,000, bringing the cumulative value to $2,333,055. And 2, that the Council notes that this service is included in the 2025-26 budget endorsed by Council at its meeting on the 17th of June 2025. Thank you.
Councillor Stowe, any questions related to this item? Councillor Stowe.
Can you just explain to me how residents of the City of Whittlesea can access this plan? So do they need to come through the aged care and then, so can you just give me an outline, please?
If it's an older person, and which most of the property maintenance services do apply to older people, they need to have what's known as a My Aged Care assessment. So that's a Commonwealth assessment. They can access the My Aged Care service by directly phoning their number, or they can get referrals through other services, so they can do it on their own, or they can be assisted by other providers and Services Australia to also do that. They will be assessed and then they get a referral code. So once they get a referral code, they're referred to providers, and Council is one of the many providers, but really the main provider in this area for these services. So then once they have that referral, if it came to us as Council, we would contact them, do an onboarding, find out what they need and provide the services. And they also contribute a small fee also towards the services.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Just the line, as the federal government's aged care reforms have not been implemented as quickly as anticipated, does that mean we're waiting for funding from the federal government?
No, we have a funding agreement that goes until the end of June 2027 at this point. But when we put this contract into place, we aligned the end of the contract thinking that the reforms would already be in place, that would be looking to actually start something new or a new arrangement. So given that they've been extended our current funding, that's why we're extending this as well.
Okay, so there's no chance that this extension would be reneged on by the federal government. It's already signed off.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion for item 5.2? Councillor Stowe.
I'm happy to move the recommendation by the officers.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Cox. Councillor Stowe, I'm just confirming that the motion you're moving is the motion as presented on the screen. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Councillor Stowe, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I think that it's really important for people to age well in their homes, that people can stay in their homes as long as possible. For myself, having been the recipient of disability supports, I understand how it is for people with people ageing, and I guess for myself, I'm kind of getting to that part of my life as well. But moreover, I understand that we need to support our people. The longer they can stay in their homes, the more healthier they'll be, the more vibrant our community will be. So I think this is a really important extension. I think it's just an extension. I'm not sure how long it will go for, but it's just an extension to cover the gap. So I think it's a really important thing to keep those things maintained in people's homes.
Thank you. Councillor Cox as the seconder. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to begin by saying that this council has a very proud history of supporting our aged residents. Over the years, we have had a number of programs and supports and subsidised programs in place to ensure that quality of care and quality of life in the residents is maintained. It is a challenge to us in local government, and particularly in this day and age of tightening budgets and lack of funding coming from federal and state. And it's one of those challenges that we need to measure carefully, and the previous elected council had to face up to this challenge at one stage, whereby the program was tightened significantly, and during the administration the program was continued on, and the federal government's changes to funding and structures continue to be, in my view, somewhat fluid, and I think that's something that we've got to be careful of. We as councillors also have to be careful in terms of our budgeting and what we can fund to support our aged residents, but it's not something that's done just simply by cutting off where necessary, but done in a process that's validated and with plenty of notice. So it's something that's under review at each budget process, and I'm proud to support the motion in terms of the gap funding effectively that we're providing at this point, but obviously every council takes into a consideration that this can't continue unabated or can't grow significantly without impact upon the rates. So I endorse the recommendation.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any other councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. I declare the motion carried unanimously. Now move to item 5.3, Planning Scheme and Amendment C290, Public Acquisition Overlay at 70 and 80 Boundary Road, Wollert, and I introduce Emma Appleton, the Director, Planning and Development.
Thank you, Chair. This report relates to a proposed planning scheme amendment C290 WSEA, which proposes to apply a public acquisition overlay to part of 2 properties in Wollert. This will facilitate the construction of an intersection upgrade at Boundary Road and Andrews Road. The properties to be affected by the amendment are at 70 Boundary Road and 80 Boundary Road, which are located in the Wollert Precinct Structure Plan area. This area is currently undergoing rapid development and requires upgrades to the existing road network to service new development. I'll ask Liam, our Manager for Strategic Futures, to give more information.
Thank you, Emma. So in this instance, the standard process for vesting land required for intersection upgrade in council has not occurred, and as such the land needs to be compulsory acquired to satisfy our obligations under the Wollert Precinct Structure Plan and Development Contributions Plan. The application of the public acquisition overlay will enable council to acquire the land required for the intersection upgrade. Delivery of this intersection upgrade will service the growing Wollert community and unlock further housing and employment opportunities in the precinct, including up to 1,000 jobs, up to an additional 450 homes upon full development. The report recommends that council commences the amendment process to apply the public acquisition overlay to part of the subject properties, noting that the land required for the intersection upgrade and to be affected by the public acquisition overlay has already been strategically identified in the Wollert Precinct Structure Plan and has been subject to previous consultation with the community. The report recommends that council request the Minister for Planning to expedite this amendment through a fast-track process. The report also recommends that council writes to the Minister for Planning to highlight the barriers affecting the timely acquisition of land in growth areas and the delays those barriers cause to development of land for housing, employment and infrastructure required for growing communities.
Councillors, do we have any questions relating to this item? Councillor Stowe.
I have a couple of questions. If you could just give me an idea of whether any objections, did you explore any other options, and what would happen if we didn't actually acquire this land? What would be the impact?
I'll start by saying if we didn't acquire this land, we wouldn't be able to deliver the road infrastructure required to give access to all the development land. I'll hand over to Liam to answer the other questions.
So through the process, we have been in discussions with the landowners. So they are aware of the process in terms of the intersection upgrade and the need to I suppose, this land to facilitate that. Would you mind just clarifying the other part of the question?
I was asking, did you look at any alternatives? What's the impact if we didn't do it? So the impact is that we wouldn't be able to build the road, yes? Without alternatives and the objections.
Yeah, so in terms of the process, so it's been through a public consultation process in terms of identifying the land through the precinct structure plan development, which provided landowners the opportunity to provide objections or provide submissions as part of that process. I don't have the information in front of me as to whether these landowners participated through that process, but that was a public process which did provide those opportunities. In terms of the landowners, they have, I suppose, provided correspondence to council in terms of the acquisition process, so they're aware that it is going on, and there's another subsequent process in terms of the acquisition, in terms of dealing with the compensation arrangements.
Thank you.
Councillors, any further questions relating to this item? Do I have a mover for item 5.3? Councillor Lappin. I'm just confirming, Councillor Lappin, that you are moving as the motion the officer recommendation as presented.
That's correct, Chair.
Do I have a seconder for this motion? Councillor Cox. Councillor Lappin, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, please, Chair. Thank you. And so this motion, I completely support the approach and believe it's the right way forward for council. This intersection has been part of the Wollert precinct structure plan for some time, and the time is right to get these works started. Those familiar with the area in question will know how busy and congested it can get around peak times, and this intersection is a crucial entry point into Mernda. This motion is a crucial next step to enable these works to be realised. This public acquisition process ensures procedural fairness for both the landowner and Whittlesea Council. This process is heavily regulated with checks and balances to make sure both parties are coming to the table equally. The parcel land in question is on the boundary of the adjoining property, and we are balancing the needs of the community with the rights of the landowner. I understand there can be some, issues around compulsory acquisitions, but as stated, these works have been on the plan for some time and are critical to the future growth of the area. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Cox is the seconder. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Thanks, ma'am. Look, the resolution is fairly straightforward. It's part of the precinct structure plan in terms of future road development within that precinct structure. I think the important point is point 4. This is a clear example of the difficulties that we have in the growth area, that we don't have adequate infrastructure development planning occur in advance of the release of residential property. Our officers in this matter have clearly identified the intersection and the requirements for the intersection to be built in the future. But again, we go into building plenty of residential without adequate infrastructure being in place as part of that development. So again, it's a clear example, as I said, in a growth area of the requirements that we need in terms of road access, future planning of community facilities being in place prior to residents moving in is the preference. We've, for some reason, continued to allow that to slip over the years, and that's both sides of politics, have allowed that to occur in state government. And from a council, we are constantly being blamed and being held responsible for these failures. We are not. This is a clear example of precinct structure plans being put down, road development's been put down, we've identified it, we're going to the compulsory acquisition stage because we can't get a settlement with the developers that own the properties at the moment, but we want to see infrastructure in place prior to residents moving in rather than the cat chasing the tail continuously. So I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Stone.
I'd just like to say that I'm satisfied that our council officers have undertaken an extensive investigation into the alternatives and what might be possible for this piece of land. It is an important part of important acquisition for the traffic flow. So, and I'm satisfied that they've done everything that they can to acquire this piece of land, and but they have navigated and collaborated with the landowners, and this is the next step that we must take to ensure that there is a free traffic flow on Epping Road.
Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. The motion has been carried unanimously. I now move to item 5.4, the Mill Park Place Framework. And I introduce Debbie Wood, the Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to present to Council the final Mill Park Place Framework for approval. So the framework has been developed with a lot of input from the community, and we're very proud to be presenting this to you tonight. And I have Arish Deep, our Manager of Urban Design and Transport, here just to run through the report. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Debbie, and good evening all. The Mill Park Place Framework represents a shared vision between community and council and sets out long-term initiatives needed to improve the suburb. It provides insight into the suburb through research and community engagement, outlining key challenges and opportunities. It also aims to guide and support future priority projects, investment, activities and advocacy for the suburb. The framework translates the goals and objectives in Whittlesea 2040 into place-based outcomes and sets 4 key directions for Mill Park: greener spaces, connected places, thriving communities, land use and built form. The key directions have identified 10 place-based initiatives and project ideas that will help deliver overall objective of the framework. Safer streets for all, to promote safe and accessible travel options with focus on active travel. Improved safety and amenity of open spaces for upgrade and passive surveillance for open spaces. Create thriving community hubs by upgrading key facilities like Miller Centre. Revitalise key destinations by supporting local events and activities. Increase walkability by exploring additional pedestrian links, shade for paths, etc. And reimagined green corridors and easements, which identifies underutilized spaces such as transmission easements. The framework also identifies advocacy priorities for other local governments, other levels of government focusing on road improvements and public transport. The framework received overall positive feedback from community, which had over 200 contributions. Feedback from community, Department of Transport and Planning, Wurundjeri Woiwurrung Cultural Heritage Aboriginal Corporation and the Youth Council helped shape the document. I feel privileged to present final Mill Park Place framework to Council and put forward the recommendations as per the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, do we have any questions related to this item? Do I have a motion for item 5.4? Councillor Colwell. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Colwell, I'm just confirming that you are moving. Thank you. Councillor Colwell, what's your motion?
I wish to move the following motion. Points 1 and 3 of the Office of Recommendations to remain the same. Point 2 to read, authorise the Director of Infrastructure and Environment to write to the Mill Park Place Framework Community Reference Group members on behalf of Council to thank them for their involvement and feedback through the report's development. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder to that motion? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Zini. Councillor Cole, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. As one of the 2 councillors whose ward incorporates the boundaries of Mill Park, it is my pleasure to see this work come to its final conclusion. I would like to take a moment to thank the Mill Park Place Framework Reference Group for their contribution, ensuring the framework captures the unique perspectives of our ageing but nevertheless evolving suburb. I too would also like to thank the officers who have participated in developing the Mill Park Place Framework. The Mill Park Place Framework not only highlights the strengths, but the key challenges and opportunities that come with an established area with ageing infrastructure. The framework highlights the importance of a well-activated open space with increased street lighting, improving people's feelings of safety in space, as well as actual safety as passive surveillance increases. I know people's feelings of safety in public space is of real concern to our community, as is the prevalence of crime. As a local government, we are best placed to respond to this challenge, ensuring design is people-centred and responsive to our needs. Thank you, Chair.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Zini, would you like to, as the seconder, speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd like to echo exactly what Councillor Colwell was saying about the Mill Park framework, and I want to thank the community who helped shape the framework for Mill Park. The first consultation with community started back in 2023. It is impressive to see how far the consultations have come, and now we are about to endorse the final plans. I encourage all residents to have a look at the new framework and see what it is planned for the suburb of Mill Park. Old infrastructure and a lack of walkability being a couple of the issues that were dealt with this framework. I really do hope that the state government is hearing this community, because at the moment we are pushing for the management of Stables Shopping Centre to improve their facilities to really match the overall suburbs improvement. And the shopping centre doesn't actually showcase any of that. So hopefully we can get some movement on that Stables Shopping Centre. As Councillor Colwell says, safety is a huge issue in Mill Park, and it is something that the framework is going to be touching on. So thank you.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to the motion? Councillor Cox.
Thanks, Mayor. I come to this resolution in terms of history. In 1979, when I first joined this council as the Shire, Mill Park was on their radar in those days, and it only just started as an estate. There was the sales centre and the 12-metre pool, 12.5-metre pool I think it was, in the sales centre. There was Blossom Park. There was, I think, a total of 11 stages from memory proposed. In the next 2 years, we unfortunately suffered the consequences of poor judgment by the then state government in that Mill Park was suddenly the targeted area for rapid growth without any infrastructure funding. So as a council, we suffered the consequences of that, and we actually redeployed resources from other areas to provide for Mill Park at that stage. So it's pleasing to see a framework. It's pleasing to see the development there, but I really do want to pay tribute to people that were actively involved, not just our current council officers in terms of this framework, but people like our former Shire engineers, in Keith Wood, Peter Hopper, Jim Harrison, who particularly worked hard to get this estate working properly. The framework has been alluded to, is seen to be centred around stables, and the stables development as a private development is a problem. It doesn't reflect the neighbourhood in my view. the major activity centre being up here at the offices and also the Plenty Valley, but it's in the top end of the area and more connected to the industrial area, not the residential. So the framework is a great policy, it's a great outcome, but I don't forget the people that did the hard yards in the years gone by.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to the motion? I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. The motion is carried unanimously. I now move to item 5.5, the Lauries Field Master Plan Draft, and again introduce Debbie Wood, the Director of Infrastructure and Environment.
Thank you, Chair. This report is to gain Council's endorsement to place the Laurie Fields Master Plan on community consultation, and we're really keen to seek the community's input into this master plan. But again, I have RSDP with me just to take you through the report.
Thank you, Debbie. Lauries Field Park is 5.4 hectare municipal park in Doreen that's long served as valued local open space featuring open grass areas, wetland, conservation areas, play space and a park network. The park was developed in 2000s in line with the NOSE development plan for local area as part of the residential development. The renewal or upgrades within the park are not guided by Council's adopted open space strategy, and this is a gap. The proposed draft master plan addresses that gap with a clear direction to support the park's role in community well-being, recreation and environmental health. It responds to community feedback from over 140 people who told us they love walking around the wetlands and exercising their dogs, but want better play spaces, more seating, shelter, safer paths, and also healthier wetlands. Our vision for Lauries Field Park is to transform it into an accessible, inclusive park that supports community well-being through social connection, active lifestyles, and protection and enhancement of natural environment. The draft master plan focuses on 3 strategic themes: improving movement and access, upgrading recreation and amenities, and restoring the environmental and conservation values of the park, especially the wetland, which currently faces water quality issues and ecological issues, stress. The draft plan is to be exhibited for additional community and stakeholder engagement to ensure the recommendations and actions within the plan are aligned with community's expectations. So I'd like to put forward the recommendations as per the report. Thank you.
Councillors, are there any questions in regard to this item? Do I have a motion for item 5.5? Councillor Gunn.
I'd like to recommend the officer recommendation as the motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Stowe. Councillor Gunn, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This is another great master plan developed by the team. I'm very excited about the upgrade to that can happen to Lauries Field. As a local resident in the area and someone who walks their dog around that area, it does need a little bit of work, and I think this is a great master plan, and I fully encourage all of the residents in the area to get behind it, have a look at the plan when they come out, and put their feedback in as well, and make sure that they're heard. Thank you.
Councillor Stowe, as a seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to say that I'm very excited for this plan to come out, and the improvements in Lauries Field and in Doreen. And when I've been up there, I do see a lot of people walking around the park and the waterways. There's a lot of nice waterways and wetlands, and pay tribute to the past engineers and planning officers here, because when I drive around Mernda and Doreen, it is a beautiful layout where the River Red Gums and the waterways and the people there, I think, are blessed with what they have, but this improvement, very excited for it to be happening. So, yeah, I give my endorsement.
Are there any other councillors who'd like to speak to the motion? I'll now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Motion is carried unanimously. I now move to item 5.6, Governance Report. And I introduce Ms Jacinta Stevens, the Executive Manager, Office of Council and CEO.
Thank you, Chair. Tonight's governance report is being presented as part of Council's commitment to transparent reporting and relates to a number of governance matters, including a summary of informal meetings held by Council since the last Council meeting. These meetings are Council briefings where officers provide detailed information to councillors to assist them making well-informed decisions. The total cost incurred by Council for the appointment of the municipal monitors under Section 179 of the Local Government Act 2020 between the period November 2024 to May 2025. Approval for attendance by councillors at interstate conferences as required by the Councillor Support and Expense Policy. The National Growth Areas Alliance, NGAA, is seeking a councillor to be appointed to the Strategic Advisory Committee for a period of 2 years. The NGAA is a peak body for local governments that advocate to the state and federal governments for improved policies and funding for growth councils. The Community Awards terms of reference have been strengthened to enhance governance practices, including the addition of a transparency section, reporting requirements and membership requirements. Further details on these matters are included within the body of the officer report. We are seeking Council to resolve on the 8 matters outlined under the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, do I have any questions relating to this item? Do I have a motion for item 5.6? Councillor Zini.
I wish to move the officer recommendation as the motion with an inclusion of Councillor Cox being inserted into point 6 and an add of point 9 to read as follows. Resolved to hold a hearing of submission committee meeting at 5 p.m. on Tuesday the 9th of September 2025 in the Council Chamber for the purpose of hearing verbal submissions from community members if required. The hearing of submission follows a statutory process seeking community feedback on Council's intention to enter into a lease with Optus for the establishment of a low-impact telecommunications facility located at 25W Main Street, Thomastown.
Do I have a seconder for this motion? Call again. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor Gunn. Councillor Zini, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Chair, I'm happy with point 9 and happy to have Councillor Cox as our representative on the National Growth Alliance, Areas Alliance, which is an important committee, especially seeing we are a growth council, and I entrust that to Councillor Cox. Thank you.
Councillor Gunn, as a seconder, would you like to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this motion? I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. I have Councillor Cox, Councillor Lappin. All those against, please raise your hand. I have Councillor all those councillors who are abstaining, please raise your hand. Councillor Stowe. So I have Councillor Cox, Councillor Lappin, Councillor Colwell, Councillor Gunn, Councillor Lemberg, Councillor Zini, and myself, Councillor Taylor, and Councillor Brooks In favour, the motion is carried. I now move to item 6, notice of motions. Item 6.1, general maintenance of Vic roads. Councillors, I note that Councillor Caldwell has proposed this notice of motion. Before we proceed to Councillor Caldwell, can you confirm that the notice of motion has been circulated to all councillors?
I can, Chair, yes.
Councillor Caldwell, would you like to move the motion?
Yes, please, Chair.
Councillors, do I have a second for Councillor Caldwell's motion? Councillor Lenberg. Councillor Caldwell, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Chair. It's with a level of frustration I move this notice of motion, calling for the administration to produce a report which outlines what Council has undertaken to address the totally unacceptable standards and inaction by Vic Roads and the state government of maintaining their assets within the municipality, the City of Whittlesea. As a first-time councillor who was under the impression that City of Whittlesea manages on behalf of Vic Roads through an agreement the many Vic Roads assets in the municipality, I was shocked to find that this was no longer the case. Vic Roads and the state government, through their wisdom, have chosen to take a different route. A route which does not meet community expectations, one which undermines our sense of pride in place and community, degrades the amenity of our streets and arterials, and in some cases, undermines public safety when traffic barriers are left for inappropriately long periods of time in disrepair. I'm sure my colleagues share across the chamber have full mailboxes of disgruntled residents furious with the state of our roads and verges and a lack of simple maintenance, many of which share my misguided perception that council is responsible. Our community demands better. In calling for this report through the CEO, I also request that officers make recommendations which council and councillors can consider in addressing this undesirable and unacceptable state of Vic Roads managed assets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Lemberg is the seconder. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I completely agree with Councillor Colwell's comments. Only this week, I've had a local resident send me images of a clean-up that they took upon themselves on Plenty Road between Masons Road and Arthurs Creek Road. They cleared 6 cubic metres of rubbish and now are asking council to pay for its removal. It's not council's responsibility. I completely understand this resident has a business on Plenty Road and drives past this rubbish every single day. To drive through the waste to get to your homes or business is totally unacceptable, and the state government needs to step up and do something about it.
Are there any other councillors wishing to speak to this motion? Deputy Mayor, Councillor Zini.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to propose an amendment to this motion and to read as follows. Point D, that the Mayor write to the Minister for Roads and Road Safety and all relevant government politicians to bring to their attention the concerns of Council and residents in relation to ineffective maintenance and servicing of Department of Transport. Land including management of grass, weeds and rubbish removal and roadside safety infrastructure within the City of Whittlesea.
Councillor Colwell, do you agree with this motion?
I do, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Lemberg, do you agree with the amendment to this motion?
I do, thank you, Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor Zini, would you like to speak to that motion?
Yes, I would, Chair. Plenty Road, Bundoora and Mill Park has a shocking reputation not just for accidents but for maintenance. Graffiti on signs, fallen trees and branches left to rot, the grass waist high in some pedestrian crossings. So many residents have contacted me about this and I'm actually really sick of it. One resident described her streets as if she was living in a dump. Vic Roads needs to start putting the effort in to maintaining the safety and reliability of our major roads. Residents, I encourage you to speak up about these shocking roads. Council does have a map on our website that details which roads are Vic roads and which roads are council roads. Firstly, what you need to do is check who has the responsibility of your road and then make the complaint. Vic Roads has a page on their website for these complaints. I'm dealing with frustrated residents on a weekly basis, and I also want to add, why are there orange bollards with ropes posing as a barrier between trams and cars? It's an absolute ridiculous situation. And I think some parents that I was speaking to today said it's been there for nearly a year. It's about time Vic Roads took their head out of the sand and started allocating the funds and time to fixing our roads. I will be supporting this motion. Thank you.
Councillors, this now is the substantive motion.
Sorry.
Are there any councillors wishing?
I'd like to move an amendment to actually take item D out. So I'll move an amendment to delete item D.
Councillor Caldwell, as the mover, do you agree with that amendment?
So just a point of order, just checking. So my sense is that it's now an amendment to the motion and it needs to go to a vote. Is that correct?
Amendment to the substantive motion to remove D.
Yeah.
Paragraph D.
So just to clarify, Councillor Zini proposed an amendment that was accepted by yourself as the mover and Councillor Lemberg as the seconder. Because that was accepted, that then becomes the substantive motion. Councillor Cox has just proposed another amendment to remove point D, and the chair is asking, do you accept that removal of point D?
So clearly there's no debate that takes place at this point in time. So at this point, I'm happy for it to say no, but if Councillor Cox wants to articulate further through debate why it should be removed, I'm more than happy to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Caldwell. Do I have a seconder in relation to Councillor Cox's amendment? Councillor Stowe.
Yes, I second Councillor Cox's amendment.
Councillor Cox, as the mover of that amendment to that motion, do you have anything to speak to the motion?
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I have no problem with the issue and in terms of what's been explained for the purpose of the amendment. However, my concern is that the first 3 points are asking for the information developing the case rather than point D, which is now actually saying we're going to race in and deliver the case without the information, which is why I have a concern and that I think it's too early. And that's the reason why I'm moving the amendment. I'm not opposed to the sentiments behind the amendment, but I am opposed to clause D, subclause point D being moved at this point in time because I think it's going to be far too early and it won't have the impetus of the first 3 points added to it.
Councillor Stowe, as the seconder of this motion, would you like to speak to the motion?
Well, my sentiments are much the same as Councillor Cox in that I think that totally agree with the sentiment of the initial motion, but I think that we need to have the information first and we don't need to write to the Minister just yet, but we do need the report, and that was the original sentiment. At some point in time, if it's necessary in the future, then come back by all means and write to the Minister, but I think at this point we need the information and that the motion should stand at the first 3 points.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors who wish to speak to the motion? Then I'll put the motion to the vote. All those. I'm now putting the amended motion to the vote. I'm now putting the amendment to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. So, all those against, raise your hand. So all those in favour, we have Councillor Gunn, Councillor Caldwell, Councillor Cox, Councillor Lappin and Councillor Stowe. The motion is carried.
All those against?
All those against? Councillor Lemberg, Councillor Zini, Councillor Taylor and Councillor Brooks.
So the amendment is carried
The amendment is carried
and becomes the substantive motion.
and now becomes the substantive motion. Are there any councillors who wish to speak to the substantive motion? Councillor Cox.
I totally agree with the resolution, the sentiment behind the resolution. I know Councillor Colwell has discussed this with all councillors at different stages. The reality is that Vic Roads are not delivering particularly. There are a number of services that are not delivering in our area. The history behind it, from my perspective, is that we did used to deliver this as part of a contract with Vic Roads on behalf of state government. We cleaned the roads, we fixed the barriers, and we charged a contract price. It wasn't at a profit. It wasn't a massive profit centre that some people accuse us of, but it does again reflect upon the council where the barriers fall over, where the rubbish is dumped on the main roads. We get the blame for it, and it's not our responsibility. We have been doing that as part of our task force, and I know that the CEO has reported back to us in terms of the costs that we are incurring as a result of that. But we are in a situation where we need to get the information correctly in place and then take that forward to our local members, all local members, and more particularly to the Minister, and if need be, the publicity, because the reality is they are not delivering what they are required to do. And it does not fall on us, and it does not fall upon ratepayers to have to bear the cost of these problems that are clearly outside of our area. So let's get the information, and then the sentiments that were put forward in the amendment, I totally agree with. We pursue with the Minister, we pursue with the local members to get this problem addressed. And again, it goes back to the failures, particularly in relation to Vic Roads. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any? Councillor Stowe.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Cox's sentiments and particularly the sentiments of Councillor Colwell in moving the motion, the original motion, and I think that the motion as it is does what we would like it to do. Certainly rubbish, waste, dumping has been the major thing that I always get emails on, always get people talking about, and it is a fact that people think that Plenty Road is our responsibility, and people are complaining to us about it and why aren't you doing something. I think some of that has, people do seem to have been more educated, they seem to come to a better understanding, but I think putting this report forward will help us better understand and put the report forward before we take the next step. Definitely, you know, I think we should take the next step, but at this point in time, rubbish is the number one issue to me that I get messages on. So, yeah, I think it's a great motion as it is.
Councillors, is there any other councillor wishing to speak to the motion? I do. Illegal rubbish dumping is a significant issue for the City of Whittlesea. We address it quickly and fast, except for those jurisdictions to which we have no control, such as those which we're talking about tonight. This is an important motion that needs to be addressed to ensure that not only is our environment keeping clean, that we are removing those graffiti removal, fallen tree limbs, illegal rubbish being dumped, and ensuring mostly that the areas are being made effectively to ensure appropriate traffic suitability and visibility. This is an important motion that needs to be addressed, and I 100% support the comments which were presented by Councillor Cox. I now put the motion to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. This motion has been carried unanimously. I now turn to item 7, urgent business. Councillors, are there any items of urgent business? CEO, do you have any items of urgent business?
No, thank you, Chair.
I now move to item 8, reports of council representatives and CEO update. Item 8.1, councillor reports. I will call on councillors to read out their report of activities since the last council meeting. Councillor Caldwell, would you like to read your report of activities since the last council meeting?
Thank you, Chair. Since our last formal council meeting, I've had a rather busy period. On Tuesday, the 24th of June and the 1st, 15th of July, I attended council briefings. On Thursday, the 19th of June, I attended coffee with councillors at the Stable Shopping Centre, meeting with residents about their concerns. On Tuesday, the 24th of June, I attended the Youth Services School Principals Breakfast, where I delivered a welcome address to principals and heard from Youth Services about the exciting program for the year ahead. On Thursday, the 26th of June, I was fortunate to participate in the sod turning of the Mernda Regional Sports Precinct, a significant milestone in the delivery of 4 indoor multi-purpose courts and 8 outdoor netball courts and associated sporting pavilions. Later that day, I attended the VAI Best Practice Protocols training session with Angie and April Clark, booked through the Whittlesea Training and Education Program, and I encourage anyone working with children to be aware of this resource as it offers low-cost, no-cost training and professional development opportunities. Monday, the 7th of July, I attended the Bub Up Willem NAIDOC Week art exhibition and also a movie night as part of the NAIDOC Week celebrations. On Tuesday, the 8th of July, I attended Connect with Council Forum for new residents, sharing information about services Council provides and all things new community members need to know. On Wednesday, the 9th of July, I attended the Aborigines Advancement League for the Victorian Police NAIDOC Week Community Awards, where Auntie Eva Jo Edwards already acknowledged, and also Joanne Proctor received the Community Member Award. Another wonderful acknowledgement for local community members doing important work in the First Nations community. And finally, on Saturday, the 19th of July, I attended Alexander Avenue Shopping Precinct upgrade opening event with many of my other councillor colleagues. We were able to see some really significant works that our team has done in renewing that strip shopping. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Caldwell. Councillor Gunn.
Thank you, Chair. On 22nd of June, I attended the Baps Rathiata celebration. It was a colourful and vibrant procession through the streets of Wollert. I was privileged to be invited to participate in all aspects of the procession, including some fabulous dance moves. It was great to see so many people enjoying themselves as part of the procession and also those watching. It was a cold and windy day, so all of the movement and dance helped to keep us warmed up. As always, a wonderful feast awaited us upon our return to the park where we started. Thank you to all those who participated and were involved. I attended the National General Assembly Conference 2025 on the 24th to the 26th of June in Canberra. Councils from all over Australia came together to workshop, exchange ideas and to progress on common issues amongst all councils. It was good to see what is working, what needs more work and some strategic directions. On the 8th of July, we had our very first Connect with Council. This was a great opportunity to meet some of our newest community members in the city of Whittlesea. This was the first time this is run and it was a great event. And I'd just like to again welcome everyone to living in the city of Whittlesea. Just as an extra to Laurie's Field, we did talk to a gentleman, I think his name was Gerard, who does radio-controlled sailboats, and I'm really excited to think that Laurie's Field may in the future be a wonderful place to have those yachts sailing. Thank you.
Councillor Lemberg.
Thank you, Chair. On Thursday, the 19th of June, I attended Coffee with Council in Mill Park. As it's an older area, there were lots of older residents that came out to have a coffee with us. They were very concerned about particular areas, particularly trip hazards on leaves falling on their properties. I think that we need to figure out a way to still have our beautiful trees, but make sure that these trip hazards are maintained for the elderly community. On Thursday, the 26th of June, I attended the Whittlesea Business Advisory Panel. I love attending this group, a very passionate group of business owners in the city of Whittlesea, always open to new ideas and looking to assist us in the formulation of our policies. On Wednesday, the 2nd of July, I started professional development with the AICD course to keep my governance and compliance skills relevant and up to date. It's a 3-month course, and if my hair doesn't fall out, I will be completely grey by the end of it because it's really, really full on, but it's fantastic. 57 seconds to go. On the 14th of July, I attended the Whittlesea Multicultural Society. We discussed financial literacy. Some content has been developed by Mandy Money, and I'm looking to figure out how we can get this shortened to be able to support youth and new arrivals in our community to understand basic money skills. On the Thursday, the 17th of July, I attended the Melbourne Market Tour. It was freezing cold, but it was a really great way to spend my morning with some of my councillor colleagues. Looking at the passion of those that hold stalls at the market was just incredible, and hearing about their produce and their journeys in many cases. So that is my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ledberg. Deputy Mayor, Councillor Zini.
Thank you, Chair. This month I was part of the delegation at the ALGA National General Assembly in Canberra, where over 100 motions were voted on and presented to federal ministers. I had the privilege of meeting the Governor-General, and also we met with our neighbours Hume and Mitchell Shire in relation to the Cloverton Activity Centre, and we all acknowledged the unbelievable needs of the area. We all agreed to further our collaboration to ensure that all our councils are well equipped to manage the huge growth expected. Also this month I attended and met with the Italian Seniors Group at Thomastown Library and want to thank them for their hospitality and dedication to their club. So just a shout out to Antonetta there. I also met with North Mauritius Seniors at Spring Street, Thomastown, and met up with Jacqueline there and passed on their needs to council. One club member still attends at age 99, just demonstrating how important social connections can be for your health. One very important attendance for me this month was being at the Crime Forum in Blossom Park, Mill Park, where the community came together to advocate for change via funding to help improve safety in the area. I want to really thank the organisers and the River Gum Clubs for staging the event. I will continue to work closely with Council in implementing and advocating as many improvements as possible in the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Stowe.
Thank you. This month has been a busy month with YPRL, attending YPRL board meetings and a number of YPRL CMAC meetings to employ an interim CEO for YPRL. I attended with 2 residences in Whittlesea to talk about what's going on for them up there. I attended the feedback session in Calcallo on Donnybrook Road along with the residents last month. So I think there was 1,500 submissions to those feedback sessions on Donnybrook Road. Recently we caught up with Wendy Lovell and we talked about Donnybrook Road and the services in Donnybrook Road and the estates and the access to Donnybrook Road. So it's quite a concern, and I continue to get emails about Donnybrook Road and the access. I've also had correspondence with Evan Mulholland MP regarding Donnybrook Road. And coming up next week, we're having a councillor coffee session in Donnybrook. So most of my time is focused on Donnybrook because there are a lot of things going on up there, and it's my #1 advocacy. I also attended the Willem Nadoc Art Exhibition with Councillor Colwell. That was a great exhibition. Last Thursday as well, I attended the Melbourne Markets as well. It was a great, worthy tour. Really loved the passion of the stall holders there. I didn't mind I didn't really like the extra trip as we were there, but it was a really worthy trip. I mean, a really worthy excursion. And I also visited the the recycling facility in Wollert and the farmers of I can't say it. the farm development up there, which was really great. But I ended up in the recycling facility, which I was right at home at, because in my past life I was a chemist in a recycling facility. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you. Councillor Lappin.
Thank you, Chair. So it's been a fairly busy last month for me. So my wife Matera and I welcomed our first child, Morgan, on June the 22nd. So it's been a really amazing experience. We're both absolutely obsessed with it. I've got 1,500 photos on my phone. And so we're all settling in nicely, and we're finding a good little routine now, which is nice. We've received such incredible support, not only from this council group and the council staff here, but also from the maternal child health services available in the city of Whittlesea. The support provided has been absolutely second to none, and we're very lucky in Whittlesea to have such first-rate services and the incredible staff that make it happen. Being first-time parents, there's obviously lots of anxiety and stress around a new baby. Every noise is the worst noise you've heard in your life. And the reassurance and care provided to us has been absolutely essential. And so I just want to say a huge thank you to all the Whittlesea's MCH services. You're doing amazing work, and thank you for making the transition to parenthood so manageable and feel so safe. We feel very secure knowing that we can always reach out and get support that we need if we have any issues. So about a week ago, I was able to slowly re-emerge back into the world a little bit, which was lovely. I attended the NAIDOC March in the City with Councillor Colwell. It was such an incredible turnout, and there was amazing speakers, and just had a really great day out there. I left feeling really positive about the progress made in this state, but also very driven to ensure that the work that needs to be done for reconciliation gets the attention it deserves. Also, just two quick shout-outs. The Coffee with Council this month is in Mernda on Thursday, which is at Station Grind, a cafe I go to all the time. So they're lovely there, so hopefully if you're keen and you're down on Mernda on Thursday, come on down for a coffee. And also, I know it was mentioned at the start of the meeting, just quickly, but I would encourage everyone to come down to the National Tree Day event in Brunton Park off Everett Road. It's going to be a great event, and I'll be there, so come down, say hello. Cool, nice. Thank you, Chair. That's all done.
Thank you, Councillor Lappin. Congratulations. Councillor Cox.
Thanks, Mayor. Most of the topics I think have pretty much been covered. I attended the coffee with Council at Mill Park, even though I was fortunate enough I probably spent most of my time talking to people I know, rather than sitting down with the residents, because there was enough councillors and officers dealing with those issues at the time. The Australian Local Government Association Conference, and I provided a written report, so I won't double up on that. One of the other functions that we attended whilst we were in Canberra was the National Growth Areas Alliance briefing on the update as to where they're at, and their meetings next week. I attended the Connect with Council with new residents, and again it was a very positive outcome, and the number of residents that were there felt that we were actually recognising their contribution in moving into the area. There was also the briefing with local member Wendy Lovell, and whilst there was a lot of talk about Donnybrook Road, I kept reminding that Craigieburn Road East is also a priority, and I hope her and her colleagues remember that. But there was also a long conversation around the growth areas investments contributions and the developer contributions program. In terms of release, and we understand that successive governments have been very reluctant to release those funds, which are necessary for appropriate development of infrastructure in our areas. And I look forward to seeing a policy come out that actually is going to release those contributions rather than criticise one another about maintaining them for Treasury receipts. We did the tour of the Melbourne Market and the Alexander Avenue shops. So that's the events of the last month for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brooks.
Thank you, Chair. So in addition to the regular briefings and probably some of the other events I'll quickly go through, on the 2nd of July, I attended the Metropolitan Transport Forum, particularly around assessing upcoming priorities for the state election, so it's probably fairly pertinent to some of the things that we've been discussing today as well. On the 14th and 17th, I also attended the Whittlesea Multicultural Committee, and we're looking also to get the next one in chambers so that we can open it up to other councillors and officers as well. I think there's a lot of good work that they do in the community, but there's probably a connection piece where we can look at understanding what each side does. and try and improve that. So, but they're always a very enthusiastic group, so it's good to attend. And also, yes, the Alexandra Avenue shopping precinct upgrade. Again, just it's good to see some of the older areas get a facelift. We've got lots of growth areas, but it's really good to see an improvement in these older areas, and I think that it really improves the area, and the community see a lot of that benefit. So that is me.
Thank you. I'm repeatedly asked, what does the Mayor do? What do you do? What do you perform? What duties do you perform? I've decided tonight to outlay those, and I've attached a full copy of my report to the documents of tonight's transcript. From the reporting period of the 20th of June to tonight, the 22nd of July, this report provides a detailed overview of the official activities, engagements and responsibilities undertaken in my role as Mayor of the City of Whittlesea during the reporting period. It reflects the commitment of the Mayoral Office to transparent and accountable governance, as well as ongoing engagement with our councillors, the community, council officers, external agency and stakeholders. Hours worked. I have worked a total of 219 hours, which averages to 55 hours per week. I have dealt with 517 emails. I have lodged 9 customer request CRM. I have dealt with and concluded with our council officers 10 customer service CRM that have been investigated and closed. I have attended 23 council meetings, briefings, committee meetings and external stakeholder meetings. I've engaged with the community on 27 separate occasions involving local committee meetings. Of the council-endorsed committees that I am on, being the Outer Melbourne Council Committee, Northern Councils Alliance Committee, the Yarra Plenty Regional Library Board, the Municipal Emergency Management Planning Committee, the City of Whittlesea Business Advisory Panel, the Audit and Risk Management Committee, the CEO Matters and Advisory Committee and the Hearings of Submission Committee. I've attended 6 of those during the reporting period. I've received and dealt with 152 telephone calls. I've travelled 398.7 kilometres during that period, and I've attended 29 events. I won't repeat the events that my fellow colleagues have attended, and I've attended with them. In addition to that, I've attended the retail and hospitality, and a full copy of those records.
Sorry,
will be placed on
procedural
the
motion. Just an extension of time. Just a procedural motion, extension of time, so you can finish your speech. Sorry?
How long are you saying?
For another 2 minutes.
Do I have a seconder in relation? Thank you, Councillor Gunn. Thank you, Councillor Caldwell.
Just need to vote on it.
So all those in favour? Carried. I attended the following community events, which include civic receptions, ceremonial events, cultural and religious celebrations, media interviews and meetings not recorded in items 5 and 6 of this report, and they include the Retail and Hospitality Business Breakfast, the Hilltop Splash Park, the National General Assembly Conference, where I had the opportunity to speak with several mayors and deputy mayors, as well as attend the conference and speak to every single specialist exhibitor. Was fortunate in winning one of the events in relation to a box of goods, which we've donated to a relevant charity to the City of Whittlesea. I attended the Community Wellbeing Tour for active places and communities of ageing well. I've attended the Whittlesea Public Gardens Dog Park opening. I've attended a number of Plenty Valley radio interviews. I've participated in the community clean-up with the City of Whittlesea and the township of those people within the City of Whittlesea and the township of Whittlesea. I attended an infrastructure and environment tour. I connected with council and residents. I, together with the CEO and Councillor Stowe, met with the number of interested primary producers at the Whittlesea Agricultural Society Administration Building, conducted a community wellbeing tour for children and families, dedicated and assisted in the ceremony of the awards to the South Morang CFA and annual dinners awards night, met with the Northern Council Alliance and the CEO, have participated with a number of significant business owners within our community. I slipped into the Melbourne Market Authority tour. Had a meeting with the Alexander Avenue Sporting Precinct with my fellow colleagues. Attended yesterday the Winter Shelter Working Group, and that's it. Thank you. Now go to item 8.2, CEO update. I now ask the CEO to provide an update to both council and members of the public.
Thank you, Chair. The new Plenty Road Everton Drive intersection, which will provide safe and convenient access to the regional sports precinct, is expected to open fully in the next couple of weeks. The street lights have recently been turned on, improving visibility for drivers and pedestrians. And as soon as the permanent traffic lights are operational, which I believe we're waiting for Department of Transport to program, the intersection with Station Lane and Everton Drive will be opened. As mentioned by the Mayor, I'm pleased to report that the upgraded Hilltop Splash Park and Playground in Doreen is set to open in just a couple of weeks. The revamped park includes a range of features, including a large play unit with slides, climbing nets, trampolines, and things for older children. Younger children will have a dedicated play area with a cubby, slide, rocker. There's also a big focus on nature play with logs, boulders and winding paths to encourage exploration. For me, the standout feature of the park is the new 150 square metre splash pad with jets, misters and water channels, and that will open later on in the year when the weather warms up. For parents and those with their children there's picnic shelters, barbecues, a new expanded car park, public toilets and a fully accessible changing places facilities as well. So we look forward to opening that one fairly soon. Council recently opened a brand new off-leash dog park at Alumba Park in Wollert. This is a purpose-built space that gives local dogs and their owners a safe and welcoming place to play, exercise and connect. This park features a fully fenced area, quiet zones for less social dogs, dog-friendly landscaping, seating, shelters and drinking fountains, and that was supported by the Victorian Government's new and upgraded Dog Parks program. Been mentioned a couple of times the Alexander Avenue precinct, which opened last weekend. So we had a family event at the weekend there in Thomastown. The improvements have transformed the area to make it more safe, more accessible and welcoming space for the community. There's been upgrades to new shopfront footpaths, raised pedestrian crossings, accessible car spaces, improved lighting, seating and picnic settings, brick garden beds, new pedestrian and cycling paths and landscape works at the Nicocenzo Reserve. And it was good to see so many people out there at the weather. It was a bit cold, I understand. People braving that weather to connect with the local traders and take part in the celebrations. And thank you again to the Victorian State Government, this time through the Living Local Suburban Grant Program, who supported that project with a $200,000 contribution. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Craig. I note that all these verbal reports will be documented in the minutes. Item 9, tabled reports. I note that we do not have any reports to be tabled tonight. Item 10, confidential business. I note we do not have any items of confidential business to be tabled this evening. Item 11, closure. This brings us to the end of this scheduled council meeting, and I therefore close the meeting at 7:33 p.m. Thank you.